Ahmed Fahim, and to the extent applicable their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, Chicago, and welcome to a very bright morning out there. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim. With me in the studio is Ken DeLuke.
Howdy, folks.
And Alderman John Arena.
Good morning.
Good morning. And let's get right to it. We had the State of the Union address, and then we had the Republican response to it. And actually, I wanted to do the show today, John, from my kitchen.
Oh, yeah? Do we have a backdrop we could provide?
And use my sexy voice on the air today, folks. But I kind of figured that our listeners may not like it. God, what a horror show, man. There's just so much to shake your head at. It's hard to decide where to start. Well, I've been shaking my head since Wednesday now, folks. So the number to call in if you want to join the conversation is 773-763-9278. You're tuned in to WCPT AM 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk radio station, and you are listening to The Lightning Strike. So here comes the lightning of the day. But before we go into the lightning and the thunder, Ken, who's going to be our guest today, our person of the week?
Kevin. He is the battalion chief for the village of Frankfort, and he's going to share with us some very interesting stories in his 20-plus years on the force, and I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful. So, folks, if you know somebody who has made some contributions to society for the better, not contributions that the Orange Clown has made or not made, okay, please go to our website, tlschicago.com, for the Lightning Strike. tlschicago.com. If you'd like to come as a guest on the show, if you'd like to recommend somebody to come as a guest on the show, go to the website, send in a request. We love to have people from all faiths, all backgrounds, anything. If you're running for office, not running for office, if you're just running for the sake of running, if you want to be on the show, reach out to us through the website, okay? Don't call me, don't text me. Send it out through the website so we know how to communicate with you. Again, the website is tlschicago.com. We also have a podcast that you might want to listen to called the Turning Point Podcast. So you can go to the turningpointpodcast.com to catch some of the previous episodes of the podcast. It's all about making a difference.
Yeah. Now, on that Turning Point Podcast, you have to type in the letters THE, turningpointpodcast.com. There are other Turning Point podcasts out there, and they're completely not us. So make sure you put that whole URL in there.
Okay, so let's come to the point of discussion today. But before we get into what happened with the State of the Union and the response from the Republicans, let's take a quick break and come back with our take on what is happening in our beautiful United States of America.
Did you know there's an Illinois mandate that states by 2025, ComEd has to have 25% of the energy they deliver come from a green source? Because of this, plus the fees and taxes you've already paid on this program, if you qualify, you can get solar on your home at no out-of-pocket cost. This can mean an average savings on your electric bill of maybe 30 to 50%. More importantly, it would eliminate the uncertainty of ComEd raising your rates by whoever knows how much each year. Some people have noticed a 41% increase on their bill this spring, and ComEd has been asking for another 80% increase over the next 4 years. If your average bill is $200 a month now, maybe it could be reduced to $100 a month. Now, 5 years, would you rather pay $115 or possibly $400 to $500? If you'd like to see if you can qualify for this program, call Ken DeLuke at 312-617-8979. That's 312-617-8979. Help us save the environment and change that electric bill burden. That's 312-617-8979. Take advantage of this program while it's still available.
Are you ready for a fresh voice in Congress? Meet Manur Ahmed, your progressive candidate for the 6th Congressional District of Illinois. When it comes to women's rights and reproductive freedom, Manur is a fierce advocate. She will protect a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions and ensure equal pay for equal work. But that's not all. Manur is dedicated to enacting common sense gun reform, addressing the climate crisis with urgency, and championing the issues that matter most to our senior citizens. With Manur Ahmed in Congress, we can build a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Vote Manur Ahmed in the upcoming Democratic Party primary election on March 19th, and let's create a brighter tomorrow together. Visit AhmedForHouse.com to learn more and join the campaign for a better 6th. Demand for an end to the war in Gaza. Ceasefire now. Paid for by Ahmed for House. Approved by Manur Ahmed.
This is Manur Ahmed, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. Again, the number to call in is 773-763-9278 if you want to join the conversation. With me in the studio, my co-hosts Ken DeLuke and John Arena. Let's get to it, John.
Well, I think we should start with how do we feel about how Biden did. I mean, we know he has a pulse, as opposed to the reporting on Fox News.
I want to know what meds he was on, though.
Actually, I'm really upset. I have to turn in all my Sleepy Joe T-shirts now. They don't work anymore.
we know he did something right because the day before the speech they were saying, you know, this guy's not in charge.
Oh yeah.
And then the day after, they were like, he's too aggressive. He's too fiery. He's too in your face. He's making us worried that he's actually there doing the job.
You know,
So,
I loved watching Mike Johnson sitting behind and rolling his eyes and smirking. Come
trying
on,
to keep
Mike.
a straight face. And he even coached his cohorts to like not shout out and act out. And then there was Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was dressed like a crazy button lady, you know, out in front of the polling place. It's like, really?
Yeah, and she had the mega hat and everything on, and I think she's going to be censured. At least I hope that she will be censured, right?
And I listened to an interview with her where the sergeant at arms told her she has to take the hat off, and she said she wouldn't. And she was like, you can arrest me. So she was trying to create a spectacle, which, you know, it's trolling, right? Classic old school trolling.
You know, I have to love the ad-libs. I mean, when he went off the prompter and actually spoke, he was right on. You know, I mean, he put her in her place, made her look like a fool. You know, when the other guys were talking about the border, and he basically threw that in their face in terms of, hey, I gave you what you wanted. Did you read? You don't understand how to read what I put out there? It's exactly what you're asking for. Take yes for an answer, basically.
Yeah. So he did a great job of cornering them in their own hypocrisy on that particular issue. And you know, he's not the orator that Obama was, right? I mean, he doesn't do speeches that elevate you, but he does deliver on the facts. He had that playful quality to him, that he's a human being. He showed empathy.
Yep.
So I feel like,
and what I liked also was that when they tried to shout him down, when they tried to interrupt, and he's like, okay, yeah, you want to come on.
He was like, let's play. He had the gloves off. He was ready to get fired.
So, folks, finally, President Biden came alive. And hopefully he will stay alive for a long time. But some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I don't like about what happened, I'm going to talk about that also. And by the way, today is the last day that you'll really hear me talking for the next 4 weeks. Ramadan is starting on Monday or Tuesday. And obviously, I won't be able to talk as frankly as I would about some of the issues, guys. Okay. Plus,
Ken and I are going to have a lot of fun the next
my throat would be so dry. So mostly you'll just see me sitting over here smiling and looking at Ken and John to take the lead, and maybe even Dylan can jump in and say a few things. So that's where we are, and we have got Phil calling in to introduce himself. Phil is running for a judicial position. And Phil, good morning. You are on the air on WCPT with Mohammed, Ken, and John.
Hi. Thank you guys for letting me have some time today. I really appreciate that.
So, Phil, a quick background. What is your background? What position are you running for? And why are you running? Why we should vote for you?
All right. My name is Phil Villasenor. I'm running for circuit judge in Will County. So anybody in Will County, I will be on your ballot. A little about myself. I'm a public defender here in Will County. I have over 20 years of experience. I've dedicated my career to helping people in our community. It's a passion for me. I'm running because, over the last 20 years, what I've seen in our court system is we don't have enough diversion programs for our youth, and we don't have enough programs for people with addictions and mental health issues. And I feel, being on the front lines every single day, these things are becoming epidemics. Mental health is something where we're not addressing it in the court systems, and we need somebody as a judge who's willing to put the hard work in to getting programs set up to help people. And that's why I'm running.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Phil, for joining us, introducing yourself. Again, if you can repeat your full name so people know who you are.
Yes, Philip Villasenor. I tell everybody, just remember Phil for Will.
Okay.
When you get to the ballot, Phil for Will.
Okay, and do you have a website that people can get more information from?
Yes, it's Phil for Will, PHIL 4 Will WILL.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Phil, and introducing yourself. Folks, again, if you want to call in, introduce yourself. Elections are there. We got about 10 days to go now for the primaries. Feel free to call in, 773-763-9278. We'll be right back after a break.
A fresh voice in Congress. Meet Manor Ahmed, your progressive candidate for the 6th Congressional District of Illinois. When it comes to women's rights and reproductive freedom, Manor is a fierce advocate. She will protect a woman's right to make her own health care decisions and ensure equal pay for equal work. But that's not all. Manor is dedicated to enacting common sense gun reform, addressing the climate crisis with urgency, and championing the issues that matter most to our senior citizens. With Manor Ahmed in Congress, we can build a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Vote Manor Ahmed in the upcoming Democratic Party primary election on March 19th, and let's create a brighter tomorrow together. Visit AhmedForHouse.com to learn more and join the campaign for a better 6th. Demand for an end to the war in Gaza. Ceasefire now. Paid for by Ahmed for House. Approved by Manor Ahmed.
This is Manor Ahmed, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
We see you, we hear you, and we stand with you.
Okay, listeners, see if you can guess.
I heard that. Did you hear that? Oh, man, she sees you.
I never took drama class as a freshman in high school, but I'm pretty sure she did.
Okay.
Well, I have a question because I want to identify that. That was either the malevolent spirit that lives in your crawl space, or it was Senator Katie Britt in her opening to the GOP.
No kidding. You mean the junior senator?
The junior senator from Alabama.
Wow.
So it's very clear that she's afraid, very, very afraid, and wants you to feel the same. And I think the point here was we're supposed to relate to her. And, sitting in a kitchen the size of the average American home makes her totally relatable.
And don't forget, she had the cross dangling right in front that everybody could see what a great Christian she is.
Yes, you got to put that front and center, and I'm sure they're selling, those would be for sale on Trump's website or her website,
Okay.
So maybe, I don't know if, since she's a junior senator, she's only been there, for about a little over a year, 2 years now. So she is a businesswoman from Alabama. She was the former head of the Alabama Chamber of Commerce. As she mentions in her speech, she has two kids named Bennett and Ridgway.
Bennett and Ridgway.
Definitely connects her with parents that name their kids with the surnames of English royalty. Yes, I looked it up.
Okay.
She's married to Wesley Britt, who's a former tackle for the Patriots and is now a lobbyist because, drain the swamp. So we can all relate to that.
I know, John. There's absolutely nothing there that you can see, right?
It's not, yeah.
But can you see that?
Yeah, you really have to dig down to the research.
Yeah.
And as long as you deliver it in the scariest, craziest voice, I guess it works. And what's really interesting about it, her entire 17-minute, delivery is cringeworthy. And otherwise, outside of that context, she seems like a normal person, but as we know with a lot of these folks.
You mean someone who named their kids like Britt and Ridgeway?
You know what I really like about her
John.
is that I really like that the facts that she was spewing were basically, she must have read the script from maybe 2 months ago. She's talking about how inflation is the worst it's ever been. Well, actually, inflation is only at 3%. It's the best it's ever been.
Folks, I'm laughing so hard. I'm laughing so hard that I've got tears coming out of my eyes.
It is true. If you don't laugh at this stuff, then you got to cry. And I think one of the things that it's already been pointed out in the media, so our listeners may have heard it, but she clearly is afraid of immigrants, and we are supposed to be afraid of immigrants. And at one point, she shares a story about a migrant who was sexually assaulted. And it is horrifying, this story. And we should believe the victims, but I'm not sure about believing the senator in totality here. So on Twitter, Jonathan M. Katz outed the good senator on a fib she told Thursday night. The woman she was referencing is Carlo Juanito Romero. And Senator Britt, who says that she met her at the Rio Grande district, which I don't know is something out of the Hunger Games, she breathlessly tells us that she met her at the border and described her as being raped over and over and over, quote, at Joe Biden's border. And what the reality is she didn't beat her there. She met her when Ms. Romero testified in front of a Senate committee in 2023.
Okay.
About her experiences at the hands of the cartel in Mexico in 2004 when George W. Bush was president. So I'm sorry, when you go on national television dressed like the house lady in Handmaid's Tale, showing cleavage as a backdrop to your cross hanging around your neck, and, using that kind of creepy soft porn voice that she was exhibiting, I don't really think you're exhibiting empathy for the victims of sexual assault in the way you think. Not to mention that she's supporting Trump, who is already convicted of sexual assault.
Yeah.
There's some hypocrisy there, folks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think it's important for somebody who says she ran for Senate for her kids. And I believe her. She wants to get back to an America, when whites had all the power, money, and land. And she wants to keep a distance from people like Miss Romero and her kids. And what's ironic is when you relate the true narrative in that story, it would appear that Miss Britt would prefer that Miss Romero had stayed in Mexico at the hands of that cartel. Because that's what is happening at the border. People are coming for asylum. And when they come here, I think it's important, since the senator is the head of the Chamber of Commerce, I looked up some statistics, and I won't go through them all, but according to the American Immigration Council on immigrants, in Alabama have contributed over $1 billion annually in taxes. So there's just a plethora of information about whether documented or undocumented. They pay taxes, they contribute to our society, and just in Alabama alone, 6% of businesses are owned by immigrants or self-employed, and generate almost $320 million in business income.
John, let me repeat the statistic that just blew my mind a week ago or 2 weeks ago, is that this year alone, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, estimates that immigrants coming into this country are going to contribute $1 trillion to our economy this year alone, and $7 trillion over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So this is something we need. I mean, if you've gone to a restaurant and the service is so bad because they don't have to be working in the kitchens, this is something that is made our country from the start of our country, bringing people in and taking advantage of people who want to work hard to make their families and their lives better. These aren't people that you have to be afraid of. These are people we need to be the country we are.
Hey, Ken, please don't say those numbers, man. Trump will flip over because he needs that money to pay all the fines that he's facing.
He's hoping that.
Okay. By the way, I mean, he put up like a huge amount as bond recently.
$92 million.
And
that's
bond,
just for one case, and that's his sexual assault case.
Bond,
and that's even the small case. Forget about the $500 million one.
That bond, I'm told, has been put up by an insurance company, Chubb and something, that has foreign investors
imagine
in
that.
it. Can you imagine that? Okay, we got Ron calling in from Michigan. Wants to talk about Fighting Joe. Ron, good morning. You are on the lightning strike, my friend.
Good morning. You know, Fighting Joe has come out, and the Democrats have got to come out and back him. You know, there's two issues that we should jump on. Number one is the gasoline prices. Last week, New York Times, they had a story. Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the rest of the Arab oil-producing countries have signed a pact where they're going to reduce oil production to hurt the Democrats in the election. They've done this before. They did this with the oil embargo in 70s with the gasoline lines to sway our elections, and when they say, "Oh, gasoline prices are up," and also we sold the biggest oil refinery we had in the United States out of Port Arthur, Texas, to the Saudi Arabians, and that's the Republican politicians in Texas that let that go through. That has to be hammered home. And the other issue we have to take out of the Republicans' hands, take the bloody red shirt out of their hands with the death of that poor woman in Georgia. It's the Republicans' fault, and we have to hammer that home because they did not pass the border deal that Joe Biden worked out with the Republicans. It's their fault. We have to find a Democrat. And I called Debbie Stabenow's office about this because she is not running for office, because you'll take heat for this. But put the blame back on the Republicans. Take the bloody red shirt out of their hands and shove it down their throats. We have to back Joe hard and all the way if we want to win. And also, when Joe Biden issued that threat to the Supreme Court about women's vote, I hope the Swifties are listening. Whatever votes we lose, with whoever wants to defect from our party, I hope the Swifties will pick up that mantle.
Absolutely. Good
well, Ron, thank you so much for calling in. Again, keep listening every week to the Lightning Strike. We are here Sunday.
One more point, if I may.
Yes, please.
One more point, if I may. You know, the Republicans are saying, "Oh, Joe got jacked up on something." You know, when Abraham Lincoln had the same thing. When Grant was winning the Civil War, and they said he was drinking too much whiskey, Abraham Lincoln said, "What kind of whiskey does he drink? I'll give him a barrel full and give it the rest up to his generals." That's what we should give whatever Joe took. Give it to the rest of the Democrats.
I think Joe was pumped up on truth, and because he saw through all the BS that our good friend Marjorie Taylor Greene was spouting, and call her name. Oh yeah, sure. I wish I could call some names to Marjorie Taylor Greene on the air, but I don't think the FEC.
You know who she was appealing to, Mohammed? She was appealing to the NASCAR crowd with her NASCAR jacket and hat.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she'll get a healthy fine, like she did for not wearing a mask.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. And we have got a guest again calling in, and this is going to be another judge in Orlando. Thank you so much for joining in. Would you mind please introducing yourself to our guest over here?
Thank you for welcoming me today. I am Rolanda Mitchell, and I am a current Will County Associate Judge. I serve on the family law call right now. I'm in courtroom 704. That is the majority of the public that I deal with in courtroom 704. They do not have attorneys. And so I always tell people I am a lifelong public servant and learner, and that goes for my courtroom, too. So I welcome the public with honesty and dignity in my courtroom. Most of them, again, they do not have attorneys, but that doesn't mean that I can't welcome them with kindness and give them the tools that they need to navigate the court process.
Well, thank you so much for calling in and talking a little bit about your judicial philosophy. Again, folks, that is Rolanda Mitchell. She is a sitting judge. And
Yes.
I want you guys to pay attention to the judges when you go to vote. They are our best line of defense against the crazy world that we are living in right now. You wanted to say something, Rolanda. Go ahead, please.
Absolutely. I'll say a little bit more. So, again, I am a Will County Associate Judge.
Okay.
I am running for Circuit Judge in Will County, the second sub-circuit. So that isn't countywide. You have to live on the west side of Joliet, Rockdale, Shorewood, Shanahan, Manuka, the southern part of Plainfield, the western part of Romeoville and Crest Hill. I am running to become a circuit judge. That's like a promotion. It's more decision-making in the building. The circuit judges appoint associate judges. I was appointed to become an associate judge because of my real experience as attorney and my real courtroom experience, my real trial work experience. And so now I am running to become a circuit judge. I want to tell you, I'm a former teacher who became a lawyer, who became a judge. I am also the former Will County ethics advisor. And I also want to let your listeners know that I am recommended in the Illinois State Bar Association, their bar poll. So that was a bar poll that all judicial candidates had to participate in back in January of this year. We were rated anonymously by local attorneys and judges. And I want to let your listeners know that for my race, I am rated significantly above all of my challengers in every category. I am the only candidate running in the second sub-circuit that was rated over 95%. I was rated over 95% for integrity, over 95% for impartiality, over 95% for temperament.
Do you have a website, Rolanda?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My website is JudgeRolandaMitchell.com. That's Judge, ROLONDA, Mitchell, MITCHELL.com. JudgeRolandaMitchell.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for calling in and introducing yourself. And folks, again, that's Rolanda Mitchell. She's running for circuit judge in Will County. And go check out her website. Again, pay due diligence to the judges that you're electing. Most of the time, we don't know who these judges are, and they are, again, like I said, the best defense that we have against the crazy world that we're living in. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And Ken, you wanted to remark something.
Yeah, John, what's going on with Alabama? It's like the Alabama States of America. We got the IVF situation with their Supreme Court. We got their senator. How come Alabama is such in play right now?
Well, I mean, I think the Supreme. We really don't hear a lot about the Alabamas and Arkansas and Mississippi's because they tend to be in the lower categories in terms of ratings of states. I'm sure it's a beautiful state with wonderful people. They just kind of elect knuckleheads, and we've got to. I mean, if you read the decision by the judge in the case that produced this IVF controversy, It is Bible verse after Bible verse that this guy is quoting. And now we're having this discussion, or the Republicans are, about how separation of church and state, really isn't in the Constitution.
Really?
Except it kind of is, because if you can read, it's right there in the first one. They put it right up on top in big, bold letters.
Okay.
This is part of, this narrative of this kind of hyper-religious backdrop to everything. And when you have a Speaker of the House that talks about, the Bible is the only book that guides him and God elevates you, so then that means all of your bad ideas are somehow worthy of public debate. And this is what we're seeing playing out at the Supreme Court level, at the state Supreme Court level. And it's horrifying because all of this does is pit us against religion, when the point of the establishment of this country was give people freedom to decide those things and keep those things to themselves. And what you believe in your heart is perfectly fine.
Yep.
But the imposition of saying Christian nationalism somehow is how we were founded, which is not, and that has to be our guiding light, and say, well, everybody can agree that God is good. Well, everybody has an interpretation of what that means, from somebody who's spiritual and not religious to somebody who's practices a different religion than these folks practice. Where's the openness to others' ideas?
Well, we have Phil from the north side wanting to join the discussion. Phil, good morning. You are on the lightning strike. Thank you so much for holding on.
Thank you, Mohammed. Good morning.
Good morning.
First, I'll get right. Okay. We're in total agreement on everything so far, okay?
Oh, today.
So far.
Thank you.
Oh, here it comes.
Okay.
Don't worry, Phil. We'll let you down before the show's over.
I'm expecting it. Katie Britt's response was, this is indicative of who the Republicans are. It just represents everything how incompetent, what little self-awareness they have. Now, I grew up watching SCTV when I was a kid. I loved that show. There was a brilliant actress on there. Andrea Martin was a comedian actress. She played a part on there of this pseudo-feminist and the joke was she always put her foot in her mouth. And I swear I could not turn Katie Britt off. I was laughing my butt off, man. I mean, she had this character
Phil,
down.
I've been wiping my tears all morning today, just laughing so hard.
It was like she was auditioning for a Neil Breen movie. It was so movie to be in that movie, The Rumors. I just could. It was surreal. So now, I
Phil,
also need to.
I half thought that Katie Britt was actually going to be who did the spoof of her speech on Saturday Night Live in the cold open. I mean, you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. Go ahead. Sorry.
Let me just say, can I say real quickly too now? Joni Ernst and Bobby Jindal also did horrific responses, and for some reason those were able to get kind of scrubbed and brushed under the rug. I am so glad that Katie Britt's response is sticking to the wall like ketchup. And it's getting rid of this one, I'll tell you right now.
Well, here's the thing, okay? So Trump is going to call Katie, and you know that he's going to call her on an 800 number that you pay by the minute.
If she makes a contribution to his legal fund, she can be
this would be a new way for the Republicans to start generating some revenues to pay the fines that Trump is accruing by the minute now. Okay, so it's 1-800 Katie Britt.
1-800 Katie Britt for VP.
Right now, can I say one more quick thing? The Republicans are responding to this now, and their defense is that the American people just aren't intellectual enough to grasp the concept behind her video.
Okay.
That's a gray road. Isn't that a gray road? I mean, here's the Republican plan. Haphazardly, ham-fistedly, try something intellectual. When that fails, just keep trying plan A. Plan B is to keep trying plan A over and over again.
Oh, my God.
Stupid is going to somehow cure the first stupid act you committed. This is who they are. And please, I know we disagree on a few things. Let's all vote blue. We can get these people out of there. Then we can work on weeding the bad apples out of our party. Okay? Can we agree on that?
We're there with you,
Phil. Thank you so much for calling in. So, folks, the number to call in, if you want to contribute to the Republican Party's defense of Donald Trump fund, is 1-800 Katie Britt. Okay. And you'll have to pay by the minute, though, and you can't write that off as a tax-deductible expense.
No, it's a political contribution.
Okay.
Well, speaking of, I think we have to point out another little interesting bit of nepotism that Trump navigated.
Oh, yeah.
Was getting his daughter-in-law appointed to head the...
Lara Trump, right?
Laura Trump to head the Republican...
Actually,
RNC.
that's one of the best things that could ever happen. You know why? It means all the funds are going to go to his defense fund, and there's not going to be any money for the down ticket elections in
Which they don't have anyway, because they're at about 8 million. Which by looking historically at their fundraising at this point in an election cycle, to only have 8 million in your national party is nothing.
Here's the thing, okay. Biden has 81 years behind him. Trump has 91.
91 counts ahead of him.
91 counts ahead of him. Okay.
Actually, I stole that from somebody else. So you can use it.
So did I. Okay. So here's the thing, folks. Biden has 81 years behind him. Trump has 91 counts ahead of him. And
who do you want out of the country?
Okay. Hey, but please do call 1-800-KD-BRIT and make a contribution.
You got to be careful. Someone's going to try that.
Hey, who knows, man? Come on. This has been the funnest show so far that I have done, man. I mean, I've been tearing up, laughing all morning now.
Well, if the Republicans keep handing up softballs like this for us to hit out of the park, I mean,
okay.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah. Again, folks, you're tuned into the Turning Point. The Turning Point. Yeah, sure. the lightning strike on WCPT 8:20 a.m. But Ken, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, well, I'm saying when we get back from break, we're going to be speaking with Kevin Linhart. He's the battalion chief for the Village of Frankfort Fire Department. And if you have any questions for Kevin, our phone number is 773-763-9278.
Are you ready for a fresh voice in Congress? Meet Mahnur Ahmed, your progressive candidate for the 6th Congressional District of Illinois. When it comes to women's rights and reproductive freedom, Mahnur is a fierce advocate. She will protect a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions and ensure equal pay for equal work. But that's not all. Mahnur is dedicated to enacting common sense gun reform, addressing the climate crisis with urgency, and championing the issues that matter most to our senior citizens. With Mahnur Ahmed in Congress, we can build a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Vote Mahnur Ahmed in the upcoming Democratic Party primary election on March 19th, and let's create a brighter tomorrow together. Visit AhmedForHouse.com to learn more and join the campaign for a better 6th. Demand for an end to the war in Gaza. Ceasefire now. Paid for by Ahmed for House. Approved by Mahnur Ahmed.
This is Mahnur Ahmed, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks, and welcome back to the Lightning Strike. And John, you wanted to share something about the real estate transfer tax in Chicago.
Yeah, I know we've been talking a lot of national stuff, but just a little bit more local. So there's been a lot of back and forth with court cases with the real estate lobby challenging this increase on high-end properties over $1 million. It's actually a tiered system, so it would increase the transfer tax, which you only pay when you sell a property. Mm-hmm. And so this is not a property tax increase that would affect day-to-day operations on an apartment building. But there's been back and forth where a circuit court judge, without any explanation, overturned it, said they couldn't count the ballots. An appellate court judge last week, panel, said no, we can hear from the voters. So this is going to be on the ballot. It may get challenged at the Supreme Court, but I fully expect it to be counted. This is a really important initiative. This is going to generate about $100 million that'll be dedicated towards homelessness and long-term housing for people. We have a lot of temporary housing that helps people get off the street, but then where do they go after that a short period of time? So this is going to be able to help us expand the affordable housing pool. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on from the Republican side or the conservative side of this, and just kind of brush that aside. This is something that's not going to affect people's day-to-day. The numbers we're talking about here, it's actually going to reduce the average property in Chicago sells for around $315,000. On that, you're going to pay, maybe $2,000 in this transfer tax. After it's reduced from the $2,700, you would pay under the 0.75%. Now it's going to be 0.6%.
Okay.
So, but above $1 million, and it's only the portion. So what they do is they tier it. So between $0 and $1 million, it's 0.6. Between $1 million and $1.5 million, it's going to stay where it is, and then it's going to go up on properties over $1 million, over $1.5 million. So it's really not going to touch the average
average
homeowner.
John. Okay, I was going to say average Joe, but I said average John.
Average John.
Ken,
question one on the ballot.
Yeah, you had a quick rant, and we are running into our guest time at this point. So you want to hold off for the rant for next week, or you want to go now?
Well, let's do the guest if I have time before the end.
Okay, sounds good. And Sheila, good morning. Thank you so much for calling in. And folks, Sheila White is our segment producer for our Person of the Week. And if you want to be a Person of the Week, if you want to be a guest on the show, please go visit our website, tlschicago.com, and get into touch with Sheila or get in touch with us, and we'll love to get you on the Lightning Strike and have you talk about who you are, introduce yourself to the Chicago audience and the worldwide audience. Sheila, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We have a special person of the week this week, a person that's able to put out the fires. There's a lot of fires going on politically coming up to the 19th, but this person, our person of the week, is Mr. Ken Linhart. Welcome, Ken, to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. First off, I'm just incorrect real quick. It's Kevin Linhart. But I am a battalion chief, newly promoted to Frankfort Fire Protection District.
Good morning, Kevin.
I've been with Frankfort for roughly 24 years.
Wow.
So I've been with the department for a long time now.
So, Kevin, right off the bat, battalion chief, fire department. What do you guys do when there are no fires out there, man? How do you spend your time?
So we are a full-scale department. We do everything from hazmat calls to technical rescue, which includes triangle rescue, confined space, structural collapse, and trench rescue. So we also are a dive team. We have a dive team that we do water rescue, water rescue, dive incidents, recoveries. We also have a arson investigation team, or task force, if you will, that goes out and investigates the cause and origin of fires. So we are a full-scale fire district, and in our downtime, we do a lot of training. We have to keep our skills fresh. We're all paramedics, every single one of us that are on the department. So not only do we have to keep on all those extracurricular activity skills, but we also have to keep up on our medic skills.
A lot of people don't realize the amount of training that goes into being a fireman. Kevin, one day I was coming back from dropping someone off at a train station in Rosemont, and there's the fire station right across from the Rosemont train station. It was in winter. There was heavy snow falling, and I saw that a couple of trucks had their ladders up, and people were climbing up and down those ladders. And I was like, why aren't they sitting in the house over there, firehouse, and having a cup of coffee or hot chocolate? Then suddenly I realized that they were practicing putting out fires under those conditions. So take my hat off to you guys, man. You work hard.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a full-scale job. It's never-ending, and I think the best part about the job is that not every day is ever the same. Every day there's different calls, different different things that we have to think about, how we have to mitigate, and how we have to navigate, those calls and how we deal with them and so on and so forth. So it truly is a great job, a great career, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Kevin, speaking of calls, I'm just curious, what would you say, two questions here, what would you say is the most interesting call that you went on, and what would you say is the most scary call that you went on?
Wow. There's so many. Well, just most recently, we had a suspect who was doing some work on our granary. If you're not familiar with Frankfort, we have a beautiful downtown area with a granary that was used when it was built to store grain, right? Frankfort is a big, it was, I should say, heavily, agricultural. And so grain was stored there. Well, since, that really don't use the downtown area that much, that greenery aspect of it, if you will. There's a lot of radio antennas that are on top of it that kind of, help the Village of Frankfort out. So they were doing some repairs to that tower, and a subject had fallen 15 feet on top of the granary. So
how tall is the granary?
So the granary is 130 feet to the top of the roof. So when I arrived on the scene, it was our challenge because we were initially told that he was at a different address. So when I arrived on the scene, I understood that he was on top of the granary. So, the ladders that we have in the area, the tower ladders and the straight stick ladders that we have in our area, only reach about 100 feet. So, there was some discussion early on how we were going to go up and get them. Now, I had mentioned earlier how we're all most of us are certified. We have special teams that do technical rescue. So this ended up being a technical rescue incident. There is an interior stairwell, ladder, if you will, that goes up to the top of the granary, but it's very narrow. It's very small. So those were some of the complications that we had on how we were going to remove the patient that was up on top of the granary. Not to mention, it was cold out and there was an incoming blizzard.
Oh, boy.
A lot of snowfall that was predicted. So we knew we had to act quick. In temperatures like that, and somebody who is hurt or whatnot can have some medical issues, and we needed to address that right away. So the thought process was to lower him, put him in a basket, lower him off the side, because again we do work with ropes, and bring him off the side. However, the safety of my members was a concern for me, so we ended up calling in an additional tower ladder from Tinley, because we do mutual aid agreements, to come in. And I knew that first window, there's a couple windows on the south side of the granary, was about 80 feet from the ground. So we were able to get a crew up there, give him the medical treatment that he needed, package him, and get him down to the tower ladder, and then bring him safely to the ground.
Great.
Sheila, have you got any questions for Kevin?
Yes, Kevin. One of the things I wonder, when you guys are at the location, are you cooking meals? Are you going out? What's happening inside while you're waiting for the fires to happen with your teammates?
Great question. Yeah.
Are you playing chess or checkers, or what's going on?
Cooking meals in a firehouse? Doesn't sound too safe to me, Sheila.
Yeah, are you doing chess or checkers? What's going on?
Yeah, we all take turns cooking. Some of us are really good at cooking. Some of them, hot dog sandwiches. But it's a meal nonetheless, and it's a brotherhood. It's a time to bond, and it's a family away from our family. And that's what people need to understand, is that it is a close-knit family.
So, Kevin, I do believe that you have a fundraiser coming up. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks for Firefighters, Local 4338. We're having a fundraiser on June 28th. It's at Stevie and Me. It's located in Frankfort, just on the outskirts. I don't have the address available to me now, but
let's see. The address is the 23320 South LaGrange Road, Frankfort. See? I got it.
Yeah. So it's from 6:30 to 11:30. We are hosting this fundraiser. Hairbangers Ball will be playing. I know they have a big following, so we're excited to see everybody come out. But yeah, we're doing a fundraiser. We do a lot of philanthropy, if you will. We're a member of the Project Fire Buddies, which we give to families in need. And when I say in need, it's basically for children who are battling some kind of critical illness, whether it's terminal or something that they're just trying to overcome. We go and we make their days a little less, we make their days better. So,
thank you.
Great houses.
Yeah, thank you so much Thank you so much for what you all are doing, Kevin. And again, folks, our person of the week is Kevin Lynn Hart. He's the battalion chief in the Frankfurt Fire Department. You are tuned in to the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Muhammad Fahim. With me in the studio today, Ken DeLuke and John Arena. Ken, you wanted to finish off the day on a rant. Go ahead, my friend. You got 3 minutes.
Okay, well, I'm doing my compared to what segment again. I love those words, compared to what.
Okay.
You know, and we're talking about the election coming up. On one hand, you have a candidate whose only game plan is to make you afraid, convince you that despite current evidence and facts, our country is under threat and in terrible shape. Okay, they take these lies, they stroke those fears to make you angry. And then sharing those lies and cultivating that anger, they put you into a bubble and make you feel like you're part of a group that has a higher purpose to save our country from a loosely defined threat and achieve some vague concept of greatness. They get you to drink the Kool-Aid and be a part of the team. Now, I understand that to some extent because I am a Cubs fan. Okay. But on the other hand, you have another leader.
I saw Sheila with the Cubs hat on, right, Sheila? You had the Cubs hat?
It's so true. I'm a Cubs fan.
Right there with you, Sheila.
But on the other hand, you have a leader who has genuine empathy. I mean, look at the State of the Union address for his citizens. He's been instrumental in mitigating the effects of a global pandemic. He stepped up with a stimulus to avert an economic collapse while the country was being crippled by that pandemic. He's initiated bipartisan support to enact legislation to spur massive growth in infrastructure. Inflation went up because of the pandemic, but he's got it down to 3% now. You know, he's been able to achieve the lowest unemployment rate of over 50 years and have made significant inroads to help curb the existential threat of global warming. Folks, do you want someone that tells you how bad everything is and, you know, just wants to play on your fears, or do you want someone that's genuinely looking out to make our country better and implementing plans to get to that goal? Okay? Compared to what? Don't use your primal brain based on emotion, fear, and the need to be part of a group. Use your intelligence and pursue a path that will be in what's your best interest for you, your family, your children, and your grandchildren. That's my rant.
Thank you so much, Ken, for sharing that. Again, folks, if you want us to join, if you want to join the conversations on Sunday mornings, you're always welcome. 773-763-9278 is the number, but not today. We are almost at the end of the time. John, you had something that you wanted to play. Is it the sexy lady again?
Well, I think this is a perfect example of compared to what?
We see you. We hear you. And we stand with you.
Okay.
And Tim, I want you to know.
Compared to that.
Okay, folks, remember the number to call in to contribute to Trump's campaign? 1-800-KATIE-BRIT. Okay. I hope you don't call that number. It may belong to someone who's really Katie Britt.
Yeah,
okay. But you'll have to pay through your nose to bail out the orange predecessor, Orange Clown. I keep on saying Orange Clown because the computer in front of me, the screensaver, has the McDonald's clown on it. I don't know why Dylan has that in the studio.
Clown.
Okay. Again, you can go to our website, tlschicago.com, and get in touch with us through the website. Give us a shout out. We also have our YouTube channel. It's you can go to YouTube /@TLS Chicago. Every Sunday we are here, rain or shine, but starting next Sunday, I will be fasting for Ramadan, so I won't be doing as much talking or laughing or pulling anyone's legs or calling that 1-800-KATIE-BRIT number because I just don't want to get into it.
Get it out of your system now.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Ken. And thank you, John, for joining us. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in great guests as usual. Again, listen, folks, use your brain. Do some research. Go to tlschicago.com and tune in every Sunday to the Lightning Strike to learn what's happening in our country. Thank you for joining us today.
The preceding program, The Lightning Strike, was sponsored by Muhammad Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views